This is everything I know about sales in 8 minutes. I've read a lot of books on sales. I'm gonna kind of just go through what I've learned from those, what I've learned from door knocking, what I've learned from high ticket sales, what I've learned from managing a sales team that's done over $2 million in sales, so on and so forth. Before we jump into the video, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button, hit the bell. Makes a huge difference in helping me reach entrepreneurs just like yourself who want to grow their businesses and invest the difference. Now, number one thing when it comes to sales that is everyone talks about it, but it's super underrated, but you just have to practice, and you have to train every single day. Sales is a highly perishable skill, and if you aren't willing to work for it, to keep it, to earn it, to continue to do it, you will lose it. And it is one of the few skills on the face of the planet that you can just make unlimited money from. It's one of those things where take it seriously, learn how to do your job, learn how to do it well, and you just won't lack for money, right? Assuming you're at a good company with a good offer. The best days that I've ever had owning a business, running a sales team, and as a sales rep just resulted in tons of training, usually 1 to 2 times a day. And that's just it. Simply put, train. Next thing is you have to study. A lot of my favorite books like Pitch Anything are a lot of books that people haven't read. And it's because there's a lot of books on sales. People read the popular ones, but they don't always read the less popular ones. And that's where some real golden nuggets are. I really like, obviously, Never Split the Difference, The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort, or The Wolf of Wall Street. There are just so many really good sales books out there about sales management that you got to read all of them. 90% of that book you might already know, but you're looking for the 3%, the 1% that's really going to take your skills knowledge to the next level and help you close that extra deal. The next thing is sometimes sales is just volume. If you're in a cold outbound environment or you're knocking doors, sometimes you just got to put up the numbers in order to hit your goals. And that's a hard thing to say, but you need to develop that grit. So even when you're not feeling good, even when you don't want to be out there, even when you don't want to make that next dial or knock on that next door, you have the discipline to do it. And not only just to do it, but to do it at 110% because it sounds good. I'm also a firm believer in 100%. 110% doesn't exist. You can't do better than what you do. It's 100%. Now, what becomes 100%, you might be expanding that, right? So again, that goes into constant training, constant research, just constantly improving yourself. Let's move into sales tactics. Biggest thing you can do, honestly, in any industry is making sure you understand tonalities and being able to understand how those work, what tonalities come from your client, what tonalities you need to use, and how you can implement mirroring. That's going to make a huge difference because whether you're talking over the phone, whether you're taking calls on Zoom, whether you're face to face, any of that is going to involve tonalities. Even in the DMs, one of the most powerful things you can do is send voice notes. The only times tonalities really don't apply is if you're doing email outbound to get someone on the phone for follow-up, or DM/text messages where voice notes don't apply. But the vast majority of the time, you're going to be pitching using your voice. You might not always be seen if you're dialing, for example, but you're always going to be heard. And tonalities are going to make a huge difference in you being able to really communicate authentically to your prospective customer. The other thing is you need to learn not just the verbal communication aspect of your tonalities, but you need to learn nonverbal. This is going to take place with the majority of time over Zoom and in-person sales, which again, majority of time you're going to be doing that. Now, in a more and more digital world, we do find instances where you're sending DMs and emails back and forth, but a lot of those interactions, you're also going to have time where you're on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever it is with your client, whether it's in person, at a trade show, whatever it may be. And you need to know how to posture yourself, how to mirror your prospect, what it means when they cross their arms, when they put their hands on their hips, when they do things with their hands. You need to understand what they're communicating non-verbally, and you need to understand how you can communicate also verbally with what you're doing and what your hands are doing, what you're doing with your chest, your shoulders, your head, what all of that means to your prospect and how they're going to interpret it, whether they realize it or not. Now, this next thing, everyone talks about it, hardly anyone does it. And you got to track your numbers every single day. Know your numbers, know how many dials you're doing, know how many doors you're knocking, know how many decision makers you're talking to, know how many at-bats that you have. Every industry is a little different. Know your numbers for your industry and track the crap out of them. Learn what numbers are within your control and learn what numbers are out of your control. Learn what your limiting factors are and learn how to maximize them, okay? Because at the end of the day, you might not be able to control decision makers, but you can control how many doors you knock. If you need to knock 200, 250, 300 doors a day, that means getting out on the doors an hour early, staying out on the doors an hour late, taking a shorter lunch break, not going out to lunch with the team, whatever it is for you to hit your goals, you need to, because you might not be able to control the amount of decision makers. But there's things you can do. You can look for cars cars in the driveway. You can look for lights on in the houses. There are things you can do to up the likelihood of you gaining from a decision maker. When I was doing door-to-door sales, I got a Segway so I could get between doors faster. I could knock the doors that had cars in the driveway, talk to more decision makers, and therefore close more deals. Not only that, I was pitching 100% more of the time because I wasn't as tired walking around in that South Texas heat, just draining my energy out of my body. I was preserving it by using technology. Now, this is the same thing. Like if you can get an auto dialer to hit more dials on the phones, that is going to improve your rate of success rather than manually dialing numbers from an Excel spreadsheet and utilizing your brain's power on doing that task rather than following the pitch, handling objections, and walking people through to the close. The next thing is making sure you know your pitch inside and out. There's so many people that work for organizations and they won't follow the pitch. They think they're better than the pitch. Guess what? Those people, on average, from what I've seen in my experience and looking at the numbers, they don't close above average. They don't even close at the average. They typically close below the average. So learn your pitch, learn the typical objections that you get. It always amazes me how many people that you will see that work in sales and you give them a standard objection and they don't know how to handle it. They don't train on it. So learn what your objections are. When you get a new objection, write it down, come up with 3 to 5 different ways to handle that objection and drill on those objections every single day until they're muscle memory. It is super common for us to look at professional athletes and say, hey, they need to train every single day because they need their reactions to be split second, instantaneous muscle memory. But for some reason, we don't believe that salespeople need that, even though there's a lot more on the line as a salesperson for you in your daily life than there is on average for that athlete. So at the end of the day, train, learn how to handle objections, learn how to close, learn your pitch inside and out, and track your numbers. If you do all of that, you're going to be extremely successful in sales when you combine it with a farmer's work ethic, right? Work sun up to sundown every single day, and sales will treat you good. If you guys got any value from this video, please hit the subscribe button. It helps me reach more entrepreneurs just like you who want to grow their businesses and invest the difference.